being able to give back, helping these kids get recruited and have the same great experience and great memories that we carry from sports is what I love and what I feel fulfilled doing every day.
Welcome to the Lifeletics Podcast, a brand dedicated to the growth of athletes as they transition to life after sports. My name is Megan Ritter, former D1 swimmer at Florida Atlantic University. My goal here is to make all athletes feel empowered to take on the sport of life. Welcome, guys, to the Lifeletics Podcast. Today, I have Kelsey Witkay. She is a powerhouse of an athlete in and outside the pool. Coming from San Francisco, California, she moved across the country to pursue her D1 career, and she quickly became a highly respected teammate throughout her positive attitude and her willingness to help. She became a two-time captain on the swim team and became president of the Student Athlete Advisory Committee. She participated in international internships in locations like South Africa and Thailand with other student athletes and has made an everlasting impact on the athletes that she currently works with in Boston today. At just 23 years old, she has dominated the sport of life, and we are so eager to have her on to share her wisdom. So welcome, Kelsey.
Thanks so much for having me. Happy to be here and kind of talk through my background and hopefully help others in their transition outside of athletics into the real world.
Yeah. I know it's such an interesting topic, right? Because everybody goes through it in a different sense. Whether you're coming from a high school athletic background, a college athletic background, or professional, there's different levels to everything. And I'm excited to hear where your specific athletic background led to you.
Excited to jump right into it.
Cool. So talk a little bit about like San Francisco, what started your swimming career, and what made you choose Florida Atlantic University?
Yeah, so I get that question a lot because it's not often that people go 3,000 miles away and definitely get a lot of grief that, oh, you must want to get away from your family. But at the end of the day, I love them so much.
Yeah.
And anyhow, once I started realizing from a young age, I realized I wanted to swim Division 1 in college. As soon as I started swimming at 7 years old, originally the goal was the Olympics, which every little kid I feel like can relate to, especially in a sport that isn't so much like professional based. It's every 4 years kind of gets shined in the spotlight. And so that's what everyone looks up to. Once I got older, probably 2 more years into the sport, realized how difficult that is and kind of made more realistic goals to get into Division 1 swimming. And that was definitely more of a attainable goal rather than trying to strive to be the one of the top two swimmers in the nation. Once I started looking at schools, I realized that I wanted to be somewhere warm. But yeah, I enjoy being outside, getting exercise, and just not being indoors while I'm swimming and doing it. With that, I was looking at schools in Southern California and Texas a little bit and South Florida. Once it came down to it, and I was realizing that these schools I was looking at within California, I was going to be meeting and going to school with all the same people that I've been competing against, training with for
Mm.
years. And not to say those people aren't still my closest friends to this day, but I looked at the opportunity as a chance to meet new people, see new things, and kind of put myself out there. And so went on my recruiting trip to FAU and absolutely fell in love with the team, the campus, the academic program, wanted to go into exercise science and was very impressed by their facilities. And it was the perfect fit. And I honestly wouldn't trade it for anything looking back at it now.
Yeah. Was it a weird transition getting away from your family, like you said, and being so far away?
Yes and no. The team made it so easy. If I didn't have the team, definitely would have been a little more difficult, but I felt like I was just kind of right into my friend group, which I am so grateful for because I know not everyone has that.
Right.
However, moving away, there were like two things that really stuck out to me. Number one was the time difference. That at first was a huge adjustment because I'd get out of morning practice and say I wanted to say something, call my mom about something, and realizing it's 6 a.m. and she is not awake. And now that I live on the East Coast, since moving to college, the time difference math is just like second nature to me at this point. And then flying back home, I'll be like on hour 5 and I'm like, wow, I really do go far away from school.
Yeah, it's not like even if it was like a 3-hour drive, that's completely different than the amount of effort it takes to get home. You have to book the flight, you have to, get to the airport, pack your bags, do everything to like get there.
Exactly.
It's a trek for sure. Now going back to your point that you would wanted to, original plan as a young age was to go to the Olympics. Now, for people who aren't familiar with what that actually takes. So, at the swimming Olympic trials, there are 1,800 athletes at minimum, about 1,800 athletes. And from there, in each event, the top two, go to the Olympics. And the Olympic team consists of about, I believe it's like 40 to 50 people. That's
Yeah.
nothing. That's nothing. And it's
Like,
so funny because, like you had mentioned, swimming only gets that spotlight every 4 years. So, when you tell somebody that you're a swimmer, it's novel. It's not something you hear every day. And, we just get that 4-year spotlight and people imagine that, oh, you want to go to the Olympics? Just do it.
exactly. And it's like when you put it in that sense too, like if your event is the same event as Katie Ledecky's, like Katie
Oh,
Ledecky is almost a given at that number one spot
for
because then
sure.
there's one other spot remaining.
One other spot. That's it. And at the end of the day, zero point zero 0.01 seconds can separate you from that spot and being third place. And
Yeah,
that's one thing about swimming, it's a time-based sport and it's like you either win or you don't. And there's no judges, there's no referees. Well, I guess there are referees making sure that you don't do anything to disqualify you, but, you know, a football game, some people be like, "Oh, the referee was bad. They made a bad call." And that could throw the whole game, but nope, you either win or you don't.
exactly.
So
100%.
So that's awesome. And and now as far as on the swim team, you're here at FAU, you work your way up to being a captain. What did you learn about being a captain and leading in a role like that?
I learned so much. It definitely taught me to step up to the plate. I originally, and like to this day, I'm still more so of a reserved person. So it definitely kind of challenged me, brought out a different side of my character. At the end of the day, I always love to support my teammates and make sure everyone is happy and finding their own success. And that captain role, being able to kind of enable that and encourage people and help them to become their best. I loved that. However, it definitely did challenge me being the more kind of introverted side. I'd say I'm like an extroverted introvert, if that makes sense. And so kind of challenged me to bring out more of that extroverted side and be able to help others kind of achieve their goals. Originally, it was interesting because originally when I went into college, completely just focused on getting those time standards. As you mentioned, like swimming is completely time based.
Mhm.
And that was my sole focus is my goals were set around getting a certain time. And then once I got to the college level, it more so became less about me getting my time, but more so how can I contribute to the team? And seeing those goals change within me of, okay, I want to help the team to the best of my ability. I want to step up to the plate and challenge myself in a leadership role to be able to help the team overall.
Mhm.
And initially, as a college freshman, I would have never thought of myself to become a team captain. And so, kind of seeing that transition myself and kind of my goals change of, okay, I'm not so much time based, but like I want to be contribute the most to this team as possible. And be in that captain role,
Uh,
saw that transition.
Do you feel that the respect that people, showed to you, and did you feel that respect from them, and did that kind of change your mentality towards becoming a captain?
I'd say so. It definitely kind of at times I would doubt myself that I had that respect and trust from everyone across the board on a swim team of 80 people.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, as I don't know if we've mentioned yet, but swim is a sport that's kind of unlike others where a lot of campuses offer co-ed. So they'll have boys and girls and we all train together. And so on our team, that was the case. And our captains, yes, we do have two boys captains, two girls captains typically. The boys and the girls at the end of the day are in charge of being captains to the whole team,
The whole team. Everyone works
not
together.
not just
Right.
their gender based. And so at the end of the day, to be completely honest, you're not gonna have the respect of 80 people.
Right.
You can try as best as you can, but props to you if you are able to have all 80 people on the same page
Yeah.
and
Not
present
everybody's gonna like you.
awesome. Exactly. And so that was definitely something that I had to realize and just had to accept because I hate to say it, but I am a little bit of a perfectionist and do want everyone to be on the same page. And so that was definitely something that I struggled with a little bit of just accepting that, you know what, like I can give all that I can, and that's the best I can do. And at the end of the day, if people don't agree with that, like I have to stand true to my word.
Yeah. Absolutely. Now, what led you to become president of SAC, and how did you hear about it? You went from being captain of, this 80-person team that you're saying was a little difficult to president of the Student Athletic Advisory Committee, which consists of all of athletics.
Yeah. So honestly, that was completely unexpected as well. Just started going to SAC meetings my sophomore year. Bree, who was a senior at the time that I was a freshman on our swim team, she was actually president of SAC, talked it up tremendously, and just loved how much it brought like all of athletics of different sports together. And she knew so many people. And I was like, I love this. Like, I want to meet new people. I want to get involved in this. And so my sophomore year started going to meetings, meeting a few more people. And then junior year was going consistently every single week. And at the end of junior year, I didn't think I had that much experience and background to be able to be in that role. And my academic advisor, Dasha, who Megan also knows as well, and we were lucky to
She's
have her.
very amazing. Yeah.
Anyway, she kind of reassured me and encouraged me to apply and run for the presidency for my senior year. And just that added like boost of confidence, I was like, okay, like I was thinking about it, but I needed that extra push.
Sometimes
And
like an external push can completely change, your internal thoughts.
exactly, it helps your confidence so much. You might be like thinking it, and then you just need to kind of have that one person who sees it in you, sparks that light, and you can run with it. And so that was Dasha for me. She was awesome, helped me write my speech, everything. And from there, SAC opened up so many doors. I met so many people across campus and had the opportunity to connect with all the presidents of our 14 different Conference USA schools.
Mm,
And that was an incredible opportunity. We connected and came up with a proposal to do a mental health awareness campaign. And so that was across all Conference USA campuses that year. We did green out games. We did student athlete, like monthly mental health talks with sports psychologists on campus.
really cool.
And yeah, kind of just got the message out there that it's okay not to be okay. And
Mm,
that's something that is definitely overlooked. I think it's becoming more apparent which is very necessary.
Mhm.
But student athletes definitely take a lot of toll mentally, and I think everyone does. And I think in athletics, like if you have a football team, everyone goes to the football games. Everyone loves like kind of coming together over that. And if you have them playing like a mental health awareness campaign, it just helps kind of bring that message to everyone.
Right. It kind of brings like it just makes everybody feel like, okay, we're all humans here. Like he might be on a pedestal because he's like the number one quarterback in the nation, but he's just as much of a human as I am. And if he's going through something or she's going through something, whatever it is, it really just brings everybody back to like the base of like, hey, we're all just humans here. And it's okay, like you said, to not be okay. We all get pressures put on us, somebody who's not an athlete might have so much pressure on them to like get straight A's. I've never had that pressure in my life. I can never imagine, like studying, 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 and school's never my strong suit, to be honest. So, but as an athlete, that star quarterback has the pressure of not only his coach, his family, his teammates, but everybody who's watching in the stands to complete that pass.
Yeah,
And that can be it can definitely take a toll. Not only
definitely.
physical toll, but mental toll and just having that pressure and it's something like you said that totally needs to be addressed. So, you said these were once a month that you guys would meet. Do you know if this is still going on? And is it just in Conference USA? Do you know if it's anywhere else?
I believe it is still going on. I am not 100% sure. I think with COVID, they weren't able to like get together in person. So that definitely
Right.
mixed things up a little bit, but they do still get together via Zoom once a month.
In a group
And
of how many people typically?
typically it's 1 to 2 reps per school. So it'll be 15 to 30 people.
Okay. So, as far as the amount of athletes that are on there, is it you said 15 to 30
Yeah. And
athletes?
then
Okay.
we'll kind of, that's kind of like the Conference USA SAC board
Okay.
that collaborates and communicates those ideas off to their different campuses. So we'll come up
Right.
with the campaign ideas and then take it and run with it.
Gotcha. So you guys meet and then you collaborate and then you pass it along. So kind of like a top down type of thing to hopefully it trickles
Exactly.
down and each team has a say in what they need.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Now throughout that, I'm sure you learned so much working with all those people. I know you were able to go to an international internship. Where did you find this internship and how do other people find it? And yeah,
Definitely. No, it student athletes abroad is something that is near and dear to my heart. So honestly, when I first came across it, did not think it was legit. So I did an internship, a very small like online internship via Athlete Network my sophomore year.
hmm
And Athlete Network is basically like a LinkedIn platform just for student athletes.
right.
And so on this platform, I was looking around and Student Athletes Abroad popped up. I was like, huh, never heard of this. Always wanted to go abroad, but with athletics, it's sometimes impossible, or from I thought impossible.
Right.
And so then I Googled Student Athletes Abroad, and basically it encapsulated everything that I would look for in a trip. It's 3 weeks, so short and sweet because they know athletes have a limited schedule. It's internship experience, travel, and they'll set up training for you while you're there.
Wow.
So they were able to find me a pool, etc. Will give me training programs if I didn't bring them with me. So above and beyond. And I was like, this is impossible. This is everything
Like a
I've
dream come true. Yeah.
and there was, like, very little reviews. The year before was their first year. There wasn't much out there on it. So, I was like, "Alright." Like, I interviewed, went through everything, got accepted to go to South Africa end of my sophomore year. And honestly, flew to the airport. We all met up at JFK Airport and then went on the big flight to Cape Town together. And there was 10 other athletes, all from different campuses, all different sports. That was the first time we had all met. We had texted a little, but not much communication leading up to it. And in the airport, we're all talking. We're like, we did not think this was legit. Like every single one of us was like, we kind of just went on a whim and
Oh my god.
hope for the best. And sure enough, it was the absolute best experience. Working in Cape Town opened my eyes to so much and allowed me to connect with not only people across the country, but also make connections with student athletes across the US from different campuses, different grad years, different sports, and we still talk to this day.
That's beautiful. Now, you started that whole journey by first off taking advantage of the athlete network platform and spending time and actually being curious about what's out there. Now, there are some athletes who do that, and that is amazing. And it's totally recommended to, just put your name out there, you know, express what you are hoping to get into. And you never know who somebody's going to know, right? You never know what somebody has up their sleeve that could get you an opportunity like this. So,
Exactly.
So that's so cool that you were already proactive about it and you happened to stumble upon this, um, slightly sketchy, but ended up being legit company. And it's kind of fun because you were then surrounded by everybody who also took a chance. And that says a lot about your guys' character. You're like, I'm just going to try it out and see what happens. At the end of the day, that's really cool. You know,
Definitely, yeah, I would 100% recommend student athletes abroad any day. Ended up going on a second trip with them the following year to Phuket, Thailand, which again, those there was 5 of us for that trip, and we're, like, as close as family at this point. We talk once a week, and that trip was over 2 years ago now.
wow. Wow, wow, wow. That's so cool. So it's everlasting friendships and everlasting memories and lessons that you were able to learn. Is this something you totally put on your resume still to this day?
100%, and that is something that I would 100% recommend student athletes abroad is because it makes you stand out. It helped me tremendously in the job application process because not only it's it's interesting because it's only 3 weeks, which when you're applying to jobs, there's people that have had the time and have had the chance to have longer internships and more professional experience than we're necessarily able to have time for.
Yeah.
And being a 3-week internship sometimes wouldn't get the credit, but they pack so much into our days. Every single day I was working, it was like 12-hour days amongst the 3 weeks, and I got so much experience and had so much to talk about and share in the interview process, and it definitely helps you stand out because it's not every day that you're talking to someone that interned in South Africa, and so I am so grateful that I was able to have this experience, come across it, and use it to my advantage when applying for jobs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like you said, you never know when something like that is going to come about. So it's really cool. I'm happy you were able to experience that. And I hope that anybody listening, if they are still in college, that they take advantage of it and at least explore the option. Did you have to apply? How many people do they typically take?
It depends on the location, but you do go through an application process on their website. So you have to write like a short essay and
Hmm.
then all the standards, like put in your basic personal information. I believe there was a letter of rec as well required. And then once all that's submitted, they'll reach out to you and set up a phone interview. And that one was a little more difficult. I don't remember all the questions to be exact, but I remember some of them tripped me up. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to get accepted or not. And so that was exciting to hear that I was accepted after the fact. And it's definitely like, that was one of my first phone interviews or really any interview aside from interviewing for like lifeguarding before
Right.
that.
More of a
E
serious sense, right? It gives you that little taste of the real world.
Exactly. So it was
Yeah.
good practice as well.
Cool. And especially in a sense where it's not as serious as getting a full career, you know?
Yeah.
So you get that experience beforehand. Awesome. So what is it that you're doing now? And, you're in Boston. So, you're still, like you said, very far away from your family. And, you work with, I believe it's like a basketball camp.
Yes.
And talk a little bit about what you do and how you fell into it.
Yeah. So right now I work with Three Step Sports based out of Wilmington, Massachusetts. When I graduated coming out of the pandemic in 2020, I knew I wanted to get into sports. My ultimate goal is to one day work for the Olympics, either the IOC or the USOC. I just love how the Olympics bring the world together through sports. And student athletes abroad has definitely also helped contribute
Of
to me
that
finding that
sense.
passion. And so, anyways, knew I wanted to get into sports management, was applying all over post graduation 2020, and unfortunately, not the best time to get into sports. And so that was a little frustrating, but was doing some freelance marketing work on the side while submitting applications all the time. And Three Step Sports slash Zero Gravity Basketball was the first thing that kind of clicked. I ended up interviewing with them and they were still putting on basketball tournaments safely during COVID. I was like, is this legit? Again, it was like, I was like, everywhere is not hiring for sports right now.
Kelsey
And
is
they're
skeptical.
still,
She's a skeptical human being.
I guess we've uncovered that.
Yes.
And I was like, everywhere is not operating sports. And these people are putting on 200 plus team tournaments every single week safely. Granted, the kids were playing in mass, but they were still getting to play and it was operating week to week. And I was like, all right, I'm going to move across the country and be back working in what I'm passionate about. So it started with Zero Gravity, which Three Step Sports is the parent company, and then Zero Gravity is the event operator underneath them. So Zero Gravity operates spring and fall are the busy seasons, and they put on anywhere from 200 to 800 team tournaments every single weekend in the spring and the fall. And as
What
of right
age
now,
group is this?
it's boys and girls 3rd through 12th grade. And so at the end of the day, we have every skill level, but we have kids in the 12th grade that are getting recruited to play in college. And so
Yeah,
being able to kind of give back to helping these kids get recruited and have the same great experience and great memories that we carry from sports is what I love and what I feel fulfilled doing every day.
absolutely. Absolutely. Now, this is clearly something that's a passion of yours. Have you always just had this passion? And how did you pinpoint where, that you really wanted to help athletes?
I would say definitely taking like my background in sports. To this day, all my best friends are through sports and I just want to give back. I am so happy being around athletes, just like sharing that same mindset. And obviously, I couldn't be a professional swimmer for the rest of my life. So, kind of finding
Yeah.
another way to stay involved in the sports field. As I mentioned, wanting to get into the Olympics from a young age. I always like to travel, just meet new people. Kind of goes back to me going to school across the country, combining just travel and my love for sports and determining that passion that the Olympics is my ultimate dream.
Hmm.
Ideally, I'd love to help manage the Olympics. And so I'd say my current role of being the director of a tournament series and seeing the ins and outs that go into that from sales, marketing, scheduling,
Yeah.
confirming my staff and facilities, and doing that on a weekly basis for 100 plus teams is definitely kind of helping me get some good experience to hopefully get to where my end goal is.
Amazing. This makes my heart so happy. I don't think anybody can understand. It's like when you just totally see somebody and you know that like the future is theirs and like you could speak your dream into existence because just the way that you carry yourself and the way that you like look and pinpoint what it is you need to be doing and how that specific thing that you are doing is helping you towards that goal. So it takes a lot of awareness. I'm so excited for you.
Ah, you are so sweet. And to everyone listening, like Megan is who I kind of looked after and like looked up to. She was 2 years older than me and was my big on the swim team. We do kind of bigs and littles to help us transition from high school to that college level. So
Yeah.
kind of similar to Lifeletics of
Right.
making that transition as well. And honestly, seeing Megan go and intern from her junior year, working, interning from her junior and senior year in between classes and practice, I was like, this girl is driven. I want to be like her. I want to be successful. Like, she is beyond successful, going to reach all her goals and dreams. And
Aw,
definitely took after that and helped me a lot along the way.
absolutely. Well, I'm happy to have helped in any way I could have. And, whether that's going to the office with my hair dripping wet or, people going into the office like it smells like chlorine in here. It's like, yeah, that's me. I always enjoyed working and staying busy. I'm happy that you took that and ran with it. And you'll do your own amazing things in the world with that. So cool. Well, I want to ask you like one last question as we transition out of here. And what would be your top three action items for these athletes that are transitioning and really just, maybe somebody who's already 3 years out of it and they realize that they're struggling a little bit with finding what they want to do and finding that identity and getting back into working out and things like that. What's your three action
Definitely.
items?
I would say my number one is just taking advantage of all the opportunities we have to network. I know it's not always the easiest and not something that most people want to do. It's definitely stepping outside of your comfort zone of reaching out to someone that's in a position that you have no idea who they are, but you want to learn more about their position, maybe get to their position. And just don't be afraid to reach out and try and pick their brain. A lot of times, as we said earlier, we're all human and they want to help as well. They feel enriched in giving back to those that want to kind of get to where they are. And that was something that really helped me through the initial part of the pandemic and applying places is just reaching out to people in the sports management field, even though they weren't hiring at the time, just kind of picking their brain and making those connections. And once the world started to get back to normal, I had those connections and could rely back on them and still keep them to this day that if an opportunity opens up with them, I have that base.
You have people to
And
reach out to.
yeah, so I'd
Yeah.
say, especially nowadays with Zoom, with our phones and anything and
Social
everything, like,
media, everything.
you can reach out to anyone and just make that initial putting your foot in the door, putting yourself out there, and hopefully helping you get to your ultimate. That would be my number one. Number two, I would say as a student athlete, you have kind of that like a unique work ethic, and you can definitely utilize that to your advantage, especially starting out in your career. Now, it might not be sustainable for long term, like for 20 years down the line. But when you're starting out in your career, you are able to stand out. You know, kind of the long hours. You're willing to go above and beyond. Just like in practice, if you wanted to perform better, you'd put in that extra effort and you still have that within you going into the workforce. And I would carry that with you as you're starting out your career. And that's going to help you stand out and make those further opportunities come about and arise for you. That would be my second piece of advice. And then as for third, I would say keep a routine, as in working out, work schedule, figure out what that routine is, that new routine is for you. But whenever opportunities are asked of you, whether it's like a social event or something outside the office, travel, take advantage. You weren't able to as a student athlete for the most part. And now you're in your early 20s. Take advantage of all that time. Like, don't turn down opportunities. You never know when you're out and about with coworker, with a boss, someone who asked you to do something and who you could meet, what connection, where that could get you. Just say yes to everything because
Love it.
you weren't able to do that before.
Yeah. Say yes. Say yes is a huge one for me. I know that, you might get to a point where you end up having to say no to some people because and that's a different problem to tackle, but saying yes when you're in your early 20s, it makes life so much better. You get to
Yeah,
experience so much, whether it's travel like you said or a work event or something like that that you get to experience and meet people. So,
definitely.
cool. Well,
Definitely.
thank you so much for your time. I will absolutely link below anything having to do with student athletes abroad. I can't wait to hopefully expand the network of the people and athletes that have participated in this and that it's affected. It seems like an amazing company. And, if anybody here listening did get any value out of this, please share this with somebody else you think might also get some value and subscribe and leave us a review. And we'd love to hear from anybody.
Definitely.
So,
Thank you so much for having me and good luck to all the listeners out there. I would love to connect with any of you that have any questions for me too.
absolutely. Thank you so much, Kelsey.
No worries. I'll talk to you soon, Meg.
Bye bye.
Bye.